I'd like to invite up our first speaker, Mr. Daniel Hess.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here.
Dan, let me just introduce you properly here.
Sure.
Okay. So Daniel Hess is a data analyst, engineer, and pro-natalist advocate, renowned for creating and writing the widely followed @MoreBirths account on X with over 45,000 followers, and he writes on Substacks where he dissects the global fertility collapse through empirical data and evidence-based solutions. Drawing from his high-tech background, Hess, a father of 6, living in Washington, D.C. area, explores drivers like cultural individualism, urban density, and policy gaps, framing low birth rates as civilization's greatest threat. He frequently guests on podcasts, including Razib Khan's Unsupervised Learning and Renn's Urban Future, to discuss fertility trends and reversal strategies. The title of Dan's talk is The Great Crisis of Low Birth Rates Threatening Our Future and the Biggest Levers to Reverse It. So thank you, Dan. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. The low birth rates is the greatest crisis we face here. Economist Jesus Fernandez Villaverde of the University of Pennsylvania says, if we are unable to address our fertility crisis, there will be an economic crisis that could have an impact measured in the quadrillions of dollars. So we're just from the perspective of the economy alone, we're looking at something that could be completely devastating culturally and along many other facets. So I just got back from Hong Kong, which attending with another panelist, Lyman Stone, and a number of other researchers and demographers. The Global Fertility Crisis Forum. It was my first time in Hong Kong, a beautiful city, but I was left with the awareness that Hong Kong is actually dying out. The fertility rate in Hong Kong most recently in 2025 was 0.74 births per woman. To give some perspective, as most of you may know, the replacement fertility is approximately 2.1 births per woman. So we're looking at each generation being only 1/3 of the size of the generation before. 100 people having just 12 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. This incredible city that I saw for the first time is dying out. Now seeing the fertility crisis is very difficult for a lot of people. We see people everywhere. We hear that the global population is at an all-time high. What's the problem? And I have 2 charts to demonstrate why this is a serious problem and why we have such a hard time seeing it. On the chart on the left is what we see when we look at South Korea's total population. South Korea's total population is not far from its all-time high. But if you look at a population pyramid, you see something completely different. You see that the younger generation is almost completely missing. There's very, very few children, and we use the term population pyramid, but you can see for South Korea and many other countries, it's completely inverted. There are very few children and a very dim future for that country and so many others. Another question people ask: can't we just envision a world where there's fewer people, but we're all more prosperous? We can talk about that, but that's not what we actually see. When we see places that are depopulating, we see blight and decay. On the left, somebody took a sadly abandoned village in rural Japan and peopled it with dolls to make it kind of resemble what it once did. And on the right, we see Detroit, a city in the United States which has been sharply depopulating. You don't all over the world, when you see depopulation, you don't see some kind of fewer, more prosperous people, you see blight, you see decay, you see decline. And that's historically the case as well. Historically, civilization itself tracks population. So if you when we what we think of as the Dark Ages after the fall of the Roman Empire was really a decline in population. And when you lose population, you lose economies of scale. You lose uh, often you lose technology. You lose so many of the markers of civilization. You actually when you have long run depopulation, you can see civilization itself move backwards. That's very hard to imagine, but that's the reality that we face. And this is particularly a problem with the most advanced and most prosperous countries. Here's a startling fact to consider. Uh, the 44 countries of Europe, including Russia, now have fewer children born every year than just one African country, Nigeria. Uh, so that entire uh, green area that covers most of Eurasia has fewer births than than uh, than one uh, than one country that has higher fertility. That really shows how uh, shockingly far along the birth rate crisis is. And now Nigeria is extremely poor. Its economic production per capita is only 1/100th that of the United States or leading European countries. Are poor countries like that going to somehow carry the world in the future? That seems like an unlikely prospect. And the fertility crisis keeps getting worse every year. Out of more than 100 countries that have fallen below replacement since 1950, only two have uh, returned to have above replacement fertility. Those two are Mongolia and Kazakhstan. All of the rest of the countries that have uh, fallen below replacement in the last 75 years have remained below replacement. So it's almost entirely true that countries that fall below replacement have been stuck below that level. So is there any way to turn things around? What are the biggest levers that can lift birth rates? That's something I try to talk about a lot on my X account. The first thing is a pronatal culture. In my view, the most important factor is a pronatal culture. Very simply, do people believe in the fundamental goodness and importance of having children? So there's only one uh, one well-developed country in the world that maintains above replacement fertility, and that's Israel. It's crowded, very educated, and has more women's education than men's education, high tech, and this is the profile of a low fertility country, and yet somehow it maintains high fertility. So if you study this hard, if you talk to lots of people, if you look at fertility desires, you find that Israelis just directly believe that having children is the most important thing. It's a national mission. From the founding of Israel, all the leaders urged people to have children. Uh, in the religion, it's important, and everyone has a strong consensus that whatever you do in life, having children is one of the things that you have to accomplish. Another strong example of the value and importance of direct pronatal culture, that is direct belief in the importance of having children, is the contrast between Mongolia and China. Now they are adjacent countries, yet Mongolia remains well above replacement, while China is approximately 1/3 the level of Mongolia. In 2025, China fell firmly below one child per woman. So China is among the very lowest fertility countries in the entire world now. So you have this incredibly sharp contrast between Mongolia and China. And why is that? Well, very simply, one country was maintaining a culture of celebrating children, celebrating mothers, and uh, maintaining the belief that having children is incredibly important for the future of the country. Uh, the other had strict population control, along with messages telling people that it's bad to have children, it's bad to have a lot of children, we need to have fewer children. So that simple message permeating through the culture for for years and years, for decades and decades, uh, resulted in a completely different mindset around having children. And Mongolia now has a bright future, and China has a future that is rapidly dimming. But we can look within China. There's one region uh, of China which under the leadership of a governor who is actually the father of the current prime minister premier of China, uh, is they had a two-child policy, and now to this day, uh, there remains much higher fertility in the Guangdong province where this man was governor. So merely uh, having a very strongly different cultural message, a different way of talking about the value of children, and just a different attitude toward children in that one province results in an incredibly visible difference in the total fertility rate today. Um, the second very large factor that I want to talk about is marriage. Uh, the difference between infertility between low marriage and high marriage countries is two times, and there's not a single country that achieves above replacement fertility with low marriage rates. So, toward that end, we need to try to sell young people on marriage, and actually, that should be an easy task. Married people are happier, married people are healthier, married people are wealthier, married people live longer. So, by all the metrics, marriage is a very good thing for people, and it should be an easy sell, but we've done a very poor job selling it. And particularly and this was a point that I shared in Hong Kong. Hong Kong in East Asia, has particular cultural norms and cultural history. I talked about arranged marriage in East Asia in particular. Virtually 100% of coupling of marriages in East Asia used to form by arranged marriage and matchmaking, and that has virtually disappeared as a form, and young people are having a very poor time in those countries, matching. And it is a very interesting point related to that to point out. In Israel, there is a vital and vibrant matchmaking culture. So it really seems uh, that old and historical norm could have a place again in the future. The next point, but to continue on marriage, it's not enough to have a marriage culture, but marriage has to be early enough. We've had this very strong trend toward later partnering, later marriage. That was just highlighted in the New York Times today in two separate articles, and this trend toward very late marriage is a very strong association with lower fertility. And we have on the right, we can see what the fecundability curve really looks like from a paper by Michael Garuso et al. Published in 2023. The fecundability curve, that is the ability to get pregnant, is very steeply age dependent, far more than anybody realized. This was a shock to almost everybody that saw this. That actually the ability to get pregnant peaks at age 20 and is already dramatically lower by age 30. People think that maybe by 35, 37, fertility starts to drop off. By that time, the ability to get pregnant is dramatically reduced. The next major factor, I want to talk about is religiosity. And again, some of this content was shared very recently in Hong Kong. And speaking actually to a Chinese audience facing a great fertility crisis, China does not have religious freedom, and that's in my opinion, no small reason why China's fertility is so incredibly low. Um, Almost all the research says the same thing. Religiosity has a very large impact on fertility, particularly when a particular faith uh, directly teaches the importance of having children. And if we want to really, uh, see a twofold or threefold increase in fertility, and not just dabble at the edges, we have to really talk about these large drivers, and religiosity is one of the largest. If you look at the 13 colonies, there was a very diverse array of religious foundations, and America from its founding until about 1900 showed the fastest uh, demographic growth of any country in history, and uh, I really think the evidence shows that a lot of that had to do with the fact that America was a very religious country. America, a country founded on religious freedom, and uh, and really had actually round after round of great awakenings, and so the intense, certainly compared to Europe, uh, America's very much stronger religiosity played a very powerful role in its demographic success and its demographic growth at the during the 1800s, when America was growing at an unbelievable clip. Europe was growing orders of magnitude more slowly, and one reason for that was that America was really much more religious than Europe, and a big reason was its culture of religious freedom. Many of the most fervent groups in Europe actually came to the United States to find religious freedom. Um, and uh, a wonderful study by another of our panelists here today, Lyman Stone, actually looked at the powerful impact uh, of religiosity in Georgia, and particularly how an influential religious uh, figure, the Patriarch of Georgia, was able to personally, single-handedly create a baby boom in that country simply by encouraging families to have more children and offering to personally baptize every third child or higher. And the evidence showed that it was among Orthodox women that there was a staggering increase in the fertility rate, really brightening the Republic of Georgia's outlook and their future.
Wrap
Um,
up in a couple of minutes, Daniel. Thank you.
okay, I'll wrap up very quickly. Um, the last thing I wanted to talk about is housing. Housing is another very big factor, but it's a little bit different from what most people realize. And let's use the example of London. This because London has very excellent fertility data district by district, but what we're going to see in London is true around the world. Um, where people live in the urban core of London, uh, you see a fertility rate of just 0.55 births per woman, which is an astonishingly low level, lower than any East Asian country. But then when we get out to the leafy suburbs of London, you see a fertility rate of 1.5 to 2, so uh, 3 to 4 times higher than in the urban core, which really shows the fact that housing type and the size of the housing is really the driver that we need to think about for fertility. Is housing appropriate for families much more than is it affordable? Affordability does matter, but it's not the main thing. The main thing we need to focus on is whether housing is suitable for families, and it turns out that the suburbs are a wonderful model. The you know the and Another point that I want to talk about again, looking at this fecundability curve, um, but in that wonderful paper, um, the easiest lever and the most powerful lever I think to really reverse fertility decline is to educate young people very early, even in high school, about how important it is to really prioritize family very early in life. That we sex ed almost entirely focuses on how to avoid pregnancy and almost not at all on how to build a family, even though it is much more likely today that people will reach the end of their years, that their fertile years, not having the family that they had hoped to have, rather than having unintended pregnancies. So the problem of unplanned childlessness is actually much more severe now than the problem of unplanned pregnancy. Yet sex ed is focused entirely on the latter issue, and not at all on the problem of unplanned and unexpected childlessness. So the conclusion that I draw is there are a lot of individual factors which are very powerful levers that are related to fertility, and I want to end by talking about one success story that is local to a lot of us. I am one state away from the biggest Amish population in the world, and the Amish happen to have the highest fertility on the planet, higher than any other group in the world. And they're really worth studying, and they really hit a lot of these factors perfectly. They have very strong pronatal belief. Having children is high status. They have a very high marriage rate, and they tend to marry early, 21, 20, 22 years old. They are very religious, and they are also spread out on the land in the type of housing that is really perfect for perfectly suitable for families. And we don't have to become Amish to learn from them in a lot of different ways. And as bad as the crisis is, and it is very severe, there is hope. And we see it in a group right in our midst.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Daniel. We'll hope to get some questions maybe later, but I think we'll keep moving forward here a little bit. If you do have questions, you can put them in the Q&A. I think that's the best place, and we'll try to answer a few of them at the end.